Hello and welcome to the last ever recording of Team Talk on Notts TV. When the channel started 11 years ago, the Reds had just sacked Billy Davis, Sean Derry's Notts County had just avoided relegation from League One, and it was firmly mid-table in League Two for Paul Cox at Mansfield Town. Between the three sides, 40 managers later, we reflect on Forest getting back in Europe, the Stags getting a second season in the third tier, and a rebuild for Notts County as they sack their manager. I'm Mark Shardlow, and this is Team Talk. Hello to you, thanks for joining us, whether on Notts TV, online or on YouTube. The 24-25 season has come to an end and all eyes are on a big summer for all our clubs. For Forest, the pressure's on owner Evangelos Marinakis as the Reds prepare to again compete in a European competition. For Notts, the hunt is on for a new head coach now and significant leadership with Stuart Maynard and David McGoldrick both leaving Meadow Lane. And for Mansfield, it's about building on the foundations and finding the depth to compete in League One again. We'll look at all of that in detail, and today, as always, we're joined by a man who knows everything about all three clubs. For one final time, it's cheery Charlie McParland. Another man who knows Notts and Forest well is former centre-half Kelvin Wilson. And we're also joined by former Forest director and the filmmaker behind the Miracles film. He knows the ins and outs at the City Ground. It's Johnny Owen. And Johnny, we have you to thank for the last decade or so on here. It was you who started things off with the Boot Room and Team Talk.
I did, yeah. That was 11 years ago now. Me and Charlie were just talking about it. Charlie started it with me, and he's been here ever since. A one-club man, as they say. He deserves a testimonial, surely, Charlie. But it's been brilliant. I mean, it was always the most popular and successful show on the channel, which was fantastic. And we just had this idea, really, that people want to talk about the three local clubs, and that proved to be the case. And you know, it's been a remarkable journey, really. I mean, we've seen County leave the leagues, now come back. Mansfield steady themselves in League One, but Forest, what a story that's been. That trajectory has been incredible. They've got finally promoted to the top league, stayed there, and are now in Europe. So what a story that is.
Yeah, it feels like we're finishing with Nottinghamshire football, both the three teams and the women's team, progressing nicely, going well, as good as it could be almost in many respects, other than perhaps Notts County.
Over the years, you've seen the clubs a bit unstable at times. Nottingham Forest, Notts County, with certain owners. But in this moment, all the clubs are stable. You know, with good owners. Forest in Europe, absolutely brilliant. Mansfield in League One. Notts County, very disappointing they didn't get promoted. But I think they've got two level-headed owners. So the future looks bright. There's been lots of ups and downs, but the last couple of years we've had lots of things, positive things to talk about on the Team Talk.
Yeah, the stat I pulled out there, Kelvin, over the last 11 years since Notts TV began, 40 different managers for Forest, Notts County and Mansfield. I mean, some of them temporary managers, but that shows how turbulent the times have been on occasions during the last decade or so.
Yeah, that's a crazy fact that, you know, I probably played under half of them as well. Not some Forest, so yeah, you know. Yeah. But yeah, that number's it's crazy, you know. But I think in the modern game and the modern day now, that's the case. You know, you hear it often. It's a business now, and if you're not winning games, you know, managers do sadly lose their job. So, as much as it is surprising, it isn't. On the flip side. Yeah,
many more to come, I'm sure. But we're going to start off with the good news and Forest and reflect on their season, shall we? A year to remember for Nuno Espirito Santo and his Reds, an FA Cup semi-final, dreams of the Champions League, and at one point people even called them title contenders. But poor form at the worst possible time saw them just pick up 2 wins from their final 8 games, dropping from 3rd to an eventual 7th place. It means European Conference League football for Forest, and that gets going in August. So, I mean, we're going to say it's a good season, aren't we, from where we began in August?
When you put it in context and the way they were going for most of the season, I thought they were a shoe-in for top 4, and that was I thought they were fantastic. It was disappointing at the end, right? But then when you sit back, take stock, and you go, listen, it's been a fantastic season for Nuno, the players and the fans, and they're in Europe. And at the start of the season, if anybody had says to you, Forest are going to be in the semi-final FA Cup, and in the last day of the season, if they win that football match, they're going to be in the Champions League, they'd have been testing you for some substance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But I mean, Johnny, I mean, off the back of Boot Room and Team Talk, you came up with the Miracles film, which you once again put in the spotlight and gave them probably the credit that they've always deserved. That amazing squad and that amazing team, and Forest have lived on that history for a long time. But this season, despite what Charlie said, it feels to me, when I reflect on it, it might have been a unique opportunity to get back in the Champions League, and it felt so close.
Yeah, it did. It was a remarkable season. I think Charlie was right when he said we had this incredible momentum, playing well. I think what happened at the end, a few things. It was just a smaller squad. Me and Charlie and Kelvin were talking about it before we came on air. You know, you just didn't have quite that strength on the bench. You know, you've got to remember as well, financially in football, it's so important, you know, the money that goes into a club. Those clubs like Newcastle and Aston Villa have been in the top league, they've been in Champions Leagues. The money that goes into a club is phenomenal. Just Forest staying in the Premier League was a remarkable achievement. You know, I mean, I remember reading some of this, a scattergun approach to recruitment. Well, was it successful? Well, yes, they stayed up. So it's a successful scattergun approach. They managed to stay in the league. And we've seen this season how difficult that is. They've got a problem in the Premier League, by the way. The last 2 seasons, 3 teams have gone up, come straight back down. So the gap is growing. So Forest staying in the Premier League was remarkable. Predictions this year from top pundits, as we call them, to go down, relegation favourites. They had this amazing start. I think the players believe in it, but I just feel at the very end of the season, it just told the size of the squad, you know, the money that's not quite there in the bench. Next season, you've got an opportunity where you can maybe get those few players on the bench, as Charlie was saying, that you can bring on like Villa have got, like Newcastle have got, like Chelsea. Chelsea spent £1 billion. People have to remember this. So just Forest being up there was remarkable. Was it a chance lost? Of course. When you're up there, you want to get in there. But when you take a step back, take a deep breath and think, look at this season, Forest getting into Europe, like leapfrogging really good teams, as we were saying, like Brentford, Fulham, teams established, Crystal Palace, years of millions going in. What Forest have done is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and how do you reflect on it? I mean, was it the missed opportunity, perhaps, you know, we discussed it on the programme, a signing in January. We identified that the weakness up front with Wood and Awonyi, both injury prone, and that seemed to be the key area at the end of the season when the legs were running out.
I think for a lot of teams, you know, me, Johnny and Chaz were talking off here about strikers wanting a striker, and everyone's saying get a striker, and it's probably the hardest position, that and a goalkeeper's to get a top one, especially in January as well, because you've got teams either fighting to stay up or fighting to do what Forest were doing, get into these European places. So to get a top striker to come in, it's very difficult in January, never mind the summer, you know, and the money that you need to spend on them. But just going back to what Johnny said about, you know, the players that Villa had to use and Chelsea, and I think they got that squad because they were in the Champions League. Yeah, so for Forest to do that now, next season, to go and to do it again, it's going to be hard to get them players in, you know, because they didn't get that European place. Saying that though, they've had a great season, yeah. I think because of the standard they set come Christmas, everyone's mindset completely forgot about the season before. It was like, right, Champions League. So I think because everyone's mindset, mine included, was the winning games, are playing well, they can get that Champions League place. And then coming to like the last 10, 15 games, that's all what's on your mind. You're forgetting about last season. So it definitely wasn't a disappointing season, not at all. But is it an opportunity miss? Will Forest get that chance again? I think it'll be a lot harder going forward to get them top 4 places going forward for Forest.
Yeah, Johnny, can you give us an insight? Because until a few weeks ago, and they set up the sort of shadow company. You were a director at Forest, and you're also a consultant there. Yeah. So what's the season been like? The momentum from inside the club?
It's been very good. I mean, there was a big moment, I believe, happened where the previous chairman, Nick Randall, came back in. A really, really experienced head. Charlie knows him very well. A steady hand on the till. I think that was a big moment for the club where, you know, sort of we realised a special season was happening and he came back in. I think you've got a very ambitious owner who's got great European experience. And I say this quite a lot, you know, lots of football clubs have very rich owners, but it doesn't mean anything. We were talking about Manchester United lads earlier on, weren't we? It doesn't, you can spend all the money you want sometimes, it doesn't matter. But what Forest have, I think they have an owner who has European experience. I think that's massive. Olympiacos have won tournaments there, they've gone into Champions League, so he understands what you need to become to get into that. And you know, when I was asked to go on the board of the football club, I'd just done the film, I met him, we got on quite well, and he said to me, look, you know, would you like to come on the board? And I can remember saying, oh, well, look, you know, I'm really busy with films. He said, well, I'll give you this much money. I said, well, do you want me to start at 8:30 or 9 o'clock on the Monday? I was like, you know, he said to me, I believe that we can get in the Premier League within 5 years. I said, that's a big ask for a team that had been out of the league for that, well, that time was 20 odd years, because you've just not got the money going into the club. Then he sort of said to me, and then when we get there, I'm going to stay there. And then he said, and then I'd like to get into Europe at some point. And I remember thinking, no, that's very, very ambitious, you know? And he's done it. And if you think of, like, Leicester are a good example for Forest fans to think of at the moment. There's a team who've won titles in the last 10 years, been in the Champions League, won FA Cups. Forest have gone past them. Forest have actually surpassed Leicester. Leicester are now a championship team. Nobody would have seen that come in 10 years ago. Me and Charlie certainly sitting here, passing Derby, those kind of things. So what they've actually, when you take a step back, I keep saying where they've got to is remarkable. Was it a chance missed? Of course. Everybody would have wanted to get that Champions League, and it, you know, it would have made a difference. But actually, the trajectory of the journey is remarkable when you take a step back. It is, Charles, isn't it?
Yeah, the big test for Nottingham Forest now is after this wonderful season, and all these players have performed to a high level. Can the players who are there now perform to that level again?
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Marinakis and Nuno, will they go out? They have to go out and buy, if possible. Players are hard to come by. You know, they cost a lot of money, and a lot of them these. And I think Nottingham Forest, I think, is quite an attractive club to play at. Yeah. Always has been, but even Charlie, more now.
I'm going to pose that question to you after the break, because we've got to take a little break now, that's all, but we'll come back to Forest in a few moments' time. I will also turn our focus to Notts County, who are now without a head coach, and David McGoldrick heading into the new season. Hello and welcome back to Team Talk with myself, Mark Shardlow, joined by Charlie McParland, Kelvin Wilson and Johnny Owen. Still talking about Forest, looking ahead to next season. What are we looking at then for next season? As you said earlier, it's going to be hard to replicate this season. What would be realistic, what's needed to get there?
Hold on to their best players if they possibly can.
Yeah.
Players have already got. We spoke about it in the first part. That bench has to be stronger. So when you're bringing players off the bench, you're not weakening your team. They're going to be playing in Europe, so they're going to have to rest players. So if you're resting 5 players after a European game, the 5 or the 6 players that you're resting, the 5 or 6 players that you're bringing on, like Villa's, Newcastle's, and all these teams, are as good as the players you're taking off. Easier said than done, but that progression. You don't want a situation where it's a bit like you've been in the playoffs, you've lost in the playoffs, and the next again season, it's a bit deflated. It's up to Nuno, I think, he's been brilliant. Yeah, I don't think he'll let that happen. He's got experience at Wolves, he's been, you know, carrying it on every season, and keep that momentum going. You don't want to just say, oh, Forest have had a brilliant season now, we've got in Europe, and go, oh, now go from strength, you know, from strength.
How do the maths work though? Charlie's saying keep your best players and bring in 5 extra players, which is the ideal world.
I'm a football man, I don't care about maths, but if possible, you know, I know that comes in there. Yes.
But realistically, that's going to be hard to achieve, isn't it?
It's really tough, Mark. You know, football clubs now have to operate within stringent financial sort of, you know, procedures. So they've got to be careful of that. You know, people forget, only like, you know, 18 months ago, Forest had a points deduction. So you're always skirting close to clubs like Forest, where, especially at Forest, where they're desperate to get the stand built. That's massive because you get the commercial side of it. That's ongoing. That's a massive battle for the club because people are trying to stop it every step of the way, but they're trying to say to them, well, we need to renovate the stand. So all those things factor in, you know. You've got a very benevolent owner who wants to spend money. Like I said, he's done it with Olympiacos, wants to do it with Forest. but it's the most difficult thing, recruitment. Everything's in recruitment. You can go back to Brian Clough and talk about I Believe in Miracles. It was all about recruitment then. He should say, it's players. It's just about players. You talk about tactics and all that kind of stuff. You've got to have the players to do it. It's the most important thing in football. And Forest now have got to try and go out. They've had good recruitment recently, last season especially. They've got to go out and try and get those players like Elliot Anderson, who boys from we were all talking about earlier on, has been a fantastic signing. The quality of that kind of signing is what we've got to try and bring in now while trying to balance the book. So it's very, very difficult, but at the moment they're doing it well, but it's not easy.
And it looks like 3 Brazilians are going to be signed. But I mean, we can listen to experts in South American football. We can watch our YouTube highlights. Hard to know where they're going to fit in the Premier League, is it? Are they going to be in Murillo or are they going to be on their bikes?
I think the recruitment, it was good last season. You know, the players they brought in was really good. I think it's quality over quantity as well. I think don't get carried away with we're in Europe now, we've got 2 cups in England to play for, and the league, and then the European. Don't think, we need to sign loads of players just to play them games. You know, I think that would be the wrong thing to do. For me, I think a good season, I think a lot of people will say, Europe next season now. For me, I would just say if it was a top half finish, it would be another good season. Yeah. I think that would be a fair, and anything on top of that of getting into Europe again would be great. But I think a lot of fans will be looking now, we're nearly there this year, let's build on that and go, we'll do it next season. I think it's going to be a lot harder. I think a top half finish would be another good season for Forest. Well, another great season. Yeah,
okay, we'll just end our Forest chat by a final look at the table, because I think it's something to be proud of this season, isn't it? When you see that, I mean, it could have been so different. You can count the points up: Leicester, Brentford, Fulham, and it would have been different. But even so, 7th.
So near yet so far.
Yeah. Look, 2 more points in the Champions League. The Champions League is remarkable.
Yeah, crazy.
And for it to go, and we did say it would go to the last day of the season, and it did. I'm sitting watching that game, and I was really nervous. Yeah. I actually thought about saying, I'm not watching this. I'm just going to go and sit in the back garden and have a cup of tea. Actually, I was down in Norfolk on holiday, and I'm thinking, because and the game was there. But again, well done, Nuno, and well done to the players. Absolutely, I've really enjoyed watching them this season.
Brilliant. Okay, let's look at Notts County across the Trent now. And not sure what we thought of their season. Highs and lows, more lows than highs, I think, in the end. A potential final day automatic promotion fell by the wayside. Poor form meant it was the playoffs, which they lost to Wimbledon, well beaten. They've now sacked their manager, Stuart Maynard, with David McGoldrick, star player, turning down the offer of a new contract too. It's a summer of rebuilding. What do we see happening next? Charlie, first of all, reflecting. We talked about missed opportunity for Forest. This seemed like a massive missed opportunity for Notts County.
I think I said right from the start of the season, the league is not as strong as what it was because of Wrexham, Stockport and Mansfield going out it. They were the 3 best teams last year.
So are you surprised they sacked the manager?
Nothing surprises me in football. And I try to put everything in context. And they had enough in the squad to get promoted. I thought in the first game against Wimbledon, they should have won the game easy, right? But the Wimbledon goalie was in fine form. A young Riley Hardbottle, Nottingham lad, cleared one off the line for Wimbledon. Then they went down to Wimbledon and they didn't put a show in. But when you put it in context, they came into the club, I think, about 18 months ago. I think they were 4th or 5th. And with a lot of good players, you know, the Langstaffs, the Crowleys, the McGoldricks. And he went from, I think, 4th or 5th down to about 15th. Yeah. Which, for me, I'm thinking, new manager come in, you know, change a couple of things, get the lads going again. They were conceding a lot of goals under Luke Williams. Yeah. Lots of goals, scoring lots of goals, but conceding loads. Can you come in and just change that a bit and kick on with those talented players in League Two? Yeah. Then he started this season, didn't start great, lost his assistant manager, and the bad start, decided to leave. Then they went on a right run, and then they were sort of up and down. But again, right to the last day, they could have got automatic. But I thought there were chances really missed this season. I thought they should have got promoted automatically.
They made a few signings in January. We talked about Forest in January signings, but none of the signings that they made in January featured at the starting 11 in the final game of the season. It felt like the players just weren't good enough when they needed an extra boost.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of young lads. You know, I think when you bring lads in on loan and even sign players as well, it's always a gamble with any player. You know, you don't know how they're going to take. Even established players can come to a football club and just never adapt to the way that manager wants to play, or to that club, or their lifestyle of living in that area. You don't know. But I think, you know, I've not been a manager, but you know, if you're Notts County managing in January looking to get promoted, I think I would want to sign experienced players. I'd want someone to just get me over the line. You know, I think young lads, yeah, they can be a breath of fresh air at times, but I just think it's a massive risk with lads that haven't played much football, first team football, you know, whether they're coming on loan from Premier League clubs and they've played 23s, under 23s for the last 2 years, whatever it may be. Coming to play men's league, even in League Two, it's completely different, the physical side, the mental side of it, the pressure of it. So I think that was a bit of a, you know, surprise, the signings.
And do we think, we're talking about experience there, that they've gone down the route of past managers coming out of non-league football trying to attract the new star? Is League Two actually about finding a manager who's been there, done it, knows the league, knows the players, and can get you up?
I think so. I mean, we were talking about him earlier on, actually. Wrexham, the manager there, has done a fantastic job, Charles, hasn't he?
Parkinson. He's a good manager.
And
I've always knew he's been a good manager.
And he knows the league. And he gets criticism from Wrexham fans because he doesn't play this modern thing of like, oh, you know, we wanted to play a well, that sometimes gets you the fellow at Manchester United now. You know, that's your problem with that. You all want a sexy sort of Portuguese manager. But actually, in that league, you want somebody that knows the league, has got great experience and knows how to do it. The dynamic in football has changed from when I was a kid. Me and Charlie used to talk about this. What I used to get when I was a kid was a really experienced, gruff old Scottish manager, like Charlie, and then a young coach with him, and then the young coach would earn his spurs. What you get to have now is a young coach, sexy coach, and a gruff old assistant. It seems to like the dynamic has changed, really. Yeah. And sometimes somebody needs to make a decision in a football club to go, right, who's going to get us up? Who's going to keep us up? It's why our mate Sean Dyche gets jobs, because he goes into a football club and he'll play the way to win get you the points and keep you in the league or get you promoted. Sometimes that gets forgotten amongst all this thing of stats and possession and Moneyball and all that. Get the manager in that's going to get you promoted.
Yeah. Listen, I was thinking there of Jimmy and Howard Wilkinson,
Jimmy and Howard.
Fergie and Steve McLaren. Yeah.
And when Howard left us with Jimmy, when we Howard went to Sheffield Wednesday, and then later on Jimmy brought in another younger coach, Dick Bate. God bless him, rest his soul, he passed away. So, and he sort of mentored Dick. But there's loads of good experienced managers and coaches round about here. It's like they all want these, it's becoming a game of spreadsheets and computers. Right? Yeah. Well, you like all that stuff, don't you? Right. But yes, it is helpful. Yeah. But it's out in that pitch.
Fancy as the fans, right?
Yeah.
Kevin's got a great point. Sometimes a player will say, kid will say to me, why didn't Forrest sign that player? Sometimes the player just simply, his kids are in a certain school in a certain part of the country, and football fans wouldn't realise that. There's a myriad of reasons why somebody might not come to a football club. It's not from what the club want to try. It might just be the player, mate.
Yes. So talking about players, and Didsey, Dave McGoldrick, fans' favourite, he came on here a few times. He said he wanted to finish his career at Notts County. It's not happening.
Massive surprise, you know, after the season he's had there, you know, scoring the goals and the performances that he's had. But yeah, it's really disappointing. He's disappointed as well. You know, he would love to have stayed at Notts. You know, he wanted to finish his career there, and I think his performance has deserved to stay on there. But obviously things happen. You know, I don't think that negotiations went well for him, and he thought he deserved better, to be fair. But you know, it is what it is. He'll move on, and I think sadly it'll be Notts' loss.
Yeah, real big shame. Kelvin, thank you very much. That's all for now. After the break, we're going to chat about Mansfield Town, and we've got a very successful season for Forest women to reflect on too. That's coming up next. Hello and welcome back to Team Talk with myself, Mark Shardlow, joined as usual by Charlie McParland, and also with us this week, Kelvin Wilson and Johnny Owen. Time to reflect on Mansfield Town. They booked their place in League One for a second successive season by avoiding relegation. It was a season of two halves. One started with some blistering form, which fell away after Christmas and saw them just record 2 wins from 19 matches between January and April. There have been some comings and goings since the season ended, and some new contracts too. How to reflect on their season? Charlie, you're at the heart of Mansfield Town. What's the mood down at the training ground?
Well, I wouldn't say the heart, but listen, again, I'll try to put everything in context. And if you're sitting at the start of the season, you say Mansfield are going to have 54 points at the end of the season and stay in League One after 23 years being in League Two, you go, I'll take that all day. But it's just the way it had a fantastic start and a poor end to the season. If it was more level, like, you know, and like everybody's quite chilled with that.
Yeah.
But because of again, you're so successful at the start, and fans dream. Forest fans are dreaming European Cup. Mansfield are dreaming top 6 playoffs to get into the championship. Then they hit the sticky run. So again, it's a successful season because they've stayed in League One with I think there was 7 or 8 ex-Premier League clubs in that league. Then you have the Wrexhams with all the money, Stockport's with all the money. So overall, I think it's a good season, a very good season.
Yeah, you've come across Nigel a few times?
Yeah, no, Nigel. Obviously through the film and stuff, he's a good guy, knows the game inside out. One of those managers we just spoke about who'll keep you in the league, get you promoted. And I agree with Charlie, very similar to Forest. You know, if Forest had sort of had this momentum in the last 10 games and made the Conference League in the last game, everybody would have been absolutely buzzing. Mansfield had a similar-ish thing, a blistering start. It often happens when you go up, you get a bit of momentum, the teams that go up. And it fell away. But in credit to Nigel as well, from the very start of the season, he always said, I just want to stay in the league because it's such a tough league. So Charlie just said, teams like Birmingham, and there was millions of pounds in the bank now. So, you know, overall, it's a good season. You know, he's a good manager. He'll keep you in that league and he'll sign good players. And, you know, for me, if you're a Mansfield fan, if you take a step back, you'd say, not a bad start to getting back into a league you haven't been in for a long time.
You've got a lot of older players in the squad. He's already made a couple of signings in their late 20s rather than like early 30s, mid-30s. Did that make a difference over the course of a season, age?
It depends, don't it, if the players stay fit. I think Notts should have done that last season, brought a few older players. You know, I think his record shows that he likes a bit of experience in his teams, you know, and I think in the lower leagues, I think it pays dividend without a doubt. I think he probably will look at players that he brings in that are older now and look at their probably last season or two to see how many games they play, because I think a lot of players, the older players, missed quite a chunk of a season through injuries this year. Yeah. So I think that might be something that they look at. But then, you know, going back to Didsey, the lad's 37 and plays a lot of games. So I think, you know, with a mix of youngsters and experienced players, I think especially in the lower leagues, I think it's a massive thing. It's a massive thing, especially with the Saturday, Tuesday, it's constant games. So I think the experienced players, that I think it's a no-brainer. It's always got Nigel's success.
Didsey for Mansfield?
Who knows?
That would rub it in the face of Notts County fans, wouldn't it?
But we talk about, and there's always a sort of a catalyst or a changing point in the season. When Mansfield were flying high, Lee Gregory was like scoring goals every week. Yeah. Like, he knows his way around the pitch, especially in the opposition 18-yard box. When that ball, and Nigel gets balls in the box early, he knows where to be.
Like Chris Woods.
Chris Woods. And if they're, I know it's all ifs and buts, if they kept him fit, it wouldn't have been so edgy into the season, and they'd have been well up the league. Goal scorers, massive.
Yeah, even so, I think we're going to say successful season.
Successful season, of course.
Forest women now, it was an incredible season for Carly Davis's Reds, with 2 pieces of silverware to their name. Came firstly by winning the League Cup over Stoke in March, before securing an invincible league title in April by going entirely undefeated to secure promotion. What a season they've had. How do we think they'll do in the Women's Super League 2? Johnny, I mean, it's just been an amazing year at the City Ground, hasn't it, with the women playing there and being so successful?
They've done fantastic, and I think, you know, they have to climb to the leagues. that top league is very competitive, and it's where they want to get to, and they're finding their way there. They've got investment. They're very much part of the Nottingham Forest Football Club structure. Again, the owner, Mr. Maranakis, he comes from a very European structure. Over in Olympiacos, they've got like basketball teams that play all over Europe, water polo. He wants a very similar thing in Nottingham Forest, the brand to be, I think they've got a netball team now that does really well, gets big crowds. He wants the same for the women. So it's all part of a philosophy in the club that Nottingham Forest as a brand itself supports many different sporting teams. But, credit to them, they couldn't have had a better season, could they? But it'll be very interesting as they go up the leagues. Like I say, once they get into the top leagues and you start playing your Chelseas and your Arsenals, your Manchester Uniteds, then it's going to be much tougher for them.
Yeah. And just another thing on that as well, don't forget, like the B team or the under-21 team, whatever you want to call it, won the Premier League Cup.
Yeah, the first lads, yeah.
Yeah, and that's competing against European opposition. So that's a nice thing to win.
Yeah, and for the women's team, you've always been calling for more investment in that team, and it's happened, and success has happened.
Well, I'm always right.
Yeah, of course you are.
Well,
So-
that's what Tina says, Charlie.
You know what I mean? You should listen. I told you about Chris Woods. I says Forest would be 10th, the 7th. So
Charlie's got 3 numbers, I think.
I can assure you I'm not always right.
Oh, God, we've had 10, 11 years of Charlie being right all the time. And this is the last time you can say it. This is the last time. Yeah, we've been lucky enough here on this programme to have had some of the great footballing names from Nottinghamshire on here with us over the decade or so. And here are some memories.
Don't miss Team Talk on Wednesdays at 8 p.m, the only show on television dedicated to your football club, with top local pundits and guests. That's Team Talk, Wednesdays at 8.
We even got it with the kids.
Yeah.
He has a bad game. He's tired. He's not
let's,
tired, just had a bad game.
I go back to my time with Alex Ferguson. It was a bit like, I consider and think I've worked under Brian Clough and Alex Ferguson. Very, very lucky.
Look, if we did go and win the league and we got promoted, that the club would back the women's team, because now to go into that championship, you have to have that foundation and that stability, and the teams do have to essentially be going to a full-time model. You wouldn't be able to compete in that league without being in that model and having that financial backing.
Seems to be in the right place at the right time. He's not brilliant at heading, he's not brilliant at holding the ball up, but he's there to score the goals, and he's scored a fair few so far.
I mean, the Premier League, what I learned is that you kind of get that weird thing in most divisions, but particularly in the Premier League when you think, oh, we're all right here, and then 3 games go by and you think, oh, right, OK, we've lost 3.
I'm looking at you, I'm not a stats man, as you well know, but the Tranmere game's very interesting.
Talk about the goals, right? One was definitely offside. Second one, he caught the ball, put it down, good finish with Crowley. The third one, Jodie Jones cuts in, puts a cross in, flies in the top corner. I've done it myself.
And I think I'll be waiting for the text after.
Yeah, give it
Yeah.
Sorry, my phone is
Sound
ringing.
very professional.
First fine of the season.
Sorry. No, I'm busy.
We were doing it there, weren't we? Like, oh yeah, there's Robbo and there's Didzy, and I mean that's what football chat is all about, isn't it? It's the memories, it's that good feeling inside that it brings you.
I think over the years, since 11 years ago, since we went boot room team talk, I think we've been very lucky with all the guests that we've been able, and they've been kind enough to come in and be part of our show. The European Cup winners, you look at Robbo there, one of the best left wingers in the world at his time. You got Wes Morgan, captain winner of the Premier League. You got Ian Boyer, complete top man. Absolutely fantastic footballers and fantastic people. Story Moore, we've got Kelvin sit here, played in the European Cup for Celtic. Let's not forget, and I've not mentioned some of the Colin Barretts in the early years. We've had Roy Keane on, you know, and
Bertels.
Little Notts TV, Bertels comes on like a moan. Right, but
you get on well.
It's been a terrific show. I think the thing is,
brilliant,
when I started the show 11 years ago and I came with the idea and Notts TV said we're going to do this, one of the big things was I says, look, I want to get my mate in because he's got an opinion and it's all about debate and that's what makes it special. And getting in Charlie McParland, you can blame me for that, okay? But getting Charlie in was a brilliant move, and he's been here every day of the week, and it's doing this show, getting all these people on, calling in favours, huge credit to him. He's helped make this show, whether it be Boot Room or Team Talk, so huge credit to Charlie for this as well.
Yeah,
I'd like to thank everybody, all the ex-players and guests and the fans that we've had on. Aidy, Tim, Colleen's brilliant, the Notts County fan. I think they've been marvellous when they've come on. They've gave up their time to come on, and they've been massive part of this show. And I'm really sad. And I'm quite an emotional person, believe it or not. I have got a bit of a heart. But after 11 years, and for all the fantastic people that work at Notts TV and what we've come into contact with, they've been marvellous. You know, Gemma, floor manager, producer, Jake, the ex-presenters, Mark, the Spiv, the Cockney Spiv, Ian, Craig Chettle, who started it with Johnny, Craig, Mark comes in, carries it on.
Done a great job.
Marvellous people.
My only slight concern is, everything's gone like that since we started Team Talk Boot Room. Yeah. Charlie's a good luck charm, so it all starts bombing. It's maybe we've got to bring him back.
Right, that's all our clubs. After the break, we're going to continue our look back on an incredible last decade or so of Team Talk and the Boot Room. Don't go away. Hello and welcome back to the final part of the final Team Talk with me, Mark Shardlow, joined by China McParland, Kelvin Wilson and Johnny Owen. Right, 10 years or so. Favourite moments then in Nottinghamshire football or Team Talk or Boot Room? What sticks in your mind over the last decade or so of Nottinghamshire football?
Well, having played at Notts County for 9 years in the top league for 3 of the years in the Football League, it really, every year at Notts County, we're in non-league football, it was like a knife in the heart to me, having played 300 games for Notts and all that stuff and managed them. So them getting back into the Football League where they deserve to be, massive.
It was a brilliant day, wasn't it? I mean, the penalty shootout was nerve-wracking. Nothing like winning at Wembley.
No. Forest, having worked at Forest for 12 years as well, with different people. And for Nottingham Forest to get back into that big league, massive moment. Mansfield getting promoted from League Two, and I'm working at the football club with the young players. That was a good moment as well. So over the last few years, it's been quite successful for us, for the 3 clubs to talk about them and come in here and be really positive. And I know I'm a bit grumpy at times, but it's been really positive times because a few years before in that we're just talking about negatives, managers getting sacked, revolving door managers getting sacked at Notts County a few years ago. So your local clubs getting promoted.
Well, I have to say, I've been here 3 years, and I've been a journalist in Nottingham for 40 years. Despite what people say, it's much nicer to report on successful teams.
Of course it is.
And we've had lots to talk about over the last 3 years.
That winning feeling.
Yeah,
Positive.
and I mean, when I first started as a reporter, I was in the Market Square for the 2 European Cups, and I never thought we'd see those crowds again. To be there on the day that Joe Worrell sort of presented the team, celebrating getting back in the Premier League was a special day.
It was great. I was standing on that top floor. I was very lucky. There was only a few people up there, the team and a few representatives, but looking over the people in Nottingham, and they came in their thousands, and you could see what it meant to the city. Having Nottingham Forest certainly back in the Premier League, I think, is massive for Nottingham. Everybody knows that. It's really important for the city. That's the richest league in the world, it's the highest profile. So having the city's name there is huge. And staying there as well, I think, Charlie's right, them going up was a wonderful, wonderful time. my wife is a massive Notts County fan, Vicky McClure, so them getting back in the Football League was huge. Mansfield going up, it's been great the last few years for Nottinghamshire football. But for me, my favourite moment was staying up that first season when they beat Arsenal, that game 1-0. And I remember I was doing TalkSport then, and I got the late train back because everybody was celebrating after. And some Forest fans had seen me up in the first class bit. I got first class these days,
Johnny,
what's
happened to Johnny, the socialist?
Oh, those days are gone, John.
The Welsh minor socialist. He's in first class.
I am, yeah.
Oh no, I'm not having that.
They sent some beers up, so I was drinking. And I was doing TalkSport, and you got to be in at 5:30 to do the pre-records, you know what it's like, Mark. And I was walking past the local pub when I got off in London. There's a pub called the Boogaloo, and there's an Irish fella, Jerry, and he's going, yeah, is that right, Johnny? I said, yeah. He said, you'll have a point to celebrate. I was like, I'll have one. I left there at 4:30. And I went straight, I had a quick nap, and it was quick swill, quick nap, and I went into TalkSport the next morning. And the adrenaline, nobody noticed because that's what it was like. Forest staying in the Premier League that first season. It was magical, massive, absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Through that first season.
First season was huge.
That is massive.
Yeah.
Kelvin?
Yeah, for me, I think having personal connections with Notts County and Forest, Notts coming back into the Football League was a massive thing. You know, I was delighted when I seen that. But I think being a part of Forest's time, and we made the playoffs twice and failed, and seeing the disappointment within the fans around the football club, and with the players, that feeling of being almost there. So getting promoted back to the Premier League is probably the biggest highlight for me for Forest over the last few years, massively. Yeah, I just think it was a massive step, and it's been a massive step to success now, and hopefully it continues.
Yeah, right. Going to put the spotlight on you, Charlie.
Spotlight on
Yeah,
you.
we have a little tribute now to our stalwart here over the last decade or so. I first interviewed Charlie McParland as manager of Notts County. I thought he was a man who knows his football, but boy, is he grumpy. I've had the pleasure of working alongside him for the last 3 years, and I'm going to say that my thoughts on him now are, he knows his football, but boy, is he grumpy. No. Charlie is he's lovable, he's kind-hearted. He just loves a good moan and a good argument. And Charlie, this is for you.
To Luton twice, yes.
I'm sorry, your phone is ringing. First fight of the season.
No, sorry. No, I'm busy.
Busy doing business.
So, listen to me.
I tried to switch off when you're
talking.
It's hard work.
Listen, take your key out. No.
You didn't say that.
I just said that a minute ago. I says we're in the game. We're in the top 3.
Yeah, but you didn't say the fact. Never listen.
I don't go for the man who walks into a team who's got the biggest budgets.
Yeah.
Like I go for the ones who achieve something where they shouldn't really achieve.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, I'm a bit for the underdog. This is how ridiculous football and the rules and officials have gone. A little kiddie there wants his hero's autograph. He goes and signs it, and he gets booked for giving a good term. Ridiculous. Because yes,
come on, they were tough times for
12 years. I've managed them, right? I've worked for Notts County for 10 years. Show people respect because you might be down there one day.
We've been down there.
Brighton were the better team for the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
The game's 90 minutes.
Fair enough.
I think it was pretty challenging.
Not really.
No?
No, I'm not sticking up for referees anymore.
Okay. All right.
I can get that. I can understand that one. Yeah.
Well, for me, if you
Look at the table.
positive.
You are, yeah. I'm not used to it. I'm not used to
Have a
it.
go at me, man. Right? Now I'm being positive. You're still having a go at me.
Right, okay, what's the positive? Does he give? What doesn't he give?
Listen, let me tell you.
Hang on, you've had your say.
No, let me tell you, Mark.
Right,
Let me butt in.
okay.
It's all about the football and the result for me. And if you go down there, it doesn't matter how many pints you've had. If you get beat, for me, it's not good. It's brilliant for them winning the cup. It's nice. It's nice to win things.
Yeah.
You know, I never won anything like that. It'd have been nice.
What was your celebration?
I do different ones.
I tried a somersault one, nearly broke my neck. I scored against Middlesbrough at Meadow Lane. I ran away to do a somersault. I said, I'm not trying that again. No, normally it was just quite straightforward, just my finger in there.
You're not going to injure yourself, do you?
No, I'm not. No, maybe my finger. Like, I don't know, but not like that somersault wasn't working for me. I was too stiff for that.
What was your best away day then?
Used to go to the pub like a good few babies.
Yeah.
No, I liked. Used to take the lads paintballing.
Yeah.
Or we'd go karting.
Yeah.
And like when we went go karting with the Ipswich boys, and it took me a long time to like work out how I was always last. And I realised I was a lot heavier than the rest of them.
Come on, Charlie, hold it together.
Well, just doing funny things.
Forest are third in the Premier League. Nigel Clough is celebrating 4 years at Mansfield, and Notts County go on an FA Cup route. Thank you, Kelvin.
I'm not Kelvin, I'm Charlie. That's
Thank
Kelvin.
you, Charlie.
Don't look at me and say
Take your time.
I wish Carly would smile a wee bit more.
She says the same about you.
Yeah,
to
that's
me,
what I'm saying. Like she's as grumpy as me. She's just won the league title and she's won the League Cup. Have a wee smile. She may be happy inside, I would say.
Right, Charlie McParland giving lectures on being happy and smiling. I've heard it all now. Oh, Charlie. Well done. Great choice 11 years ago. Yeah, I've loved the banter,
Thank
Charlie.
Johnny started it off 11 years ago, absolutely. Who thought after 11 years would still been going, but it's been a great 11 years for Notts TV, not just for Team Talk, but all the other shows. They'll all be sadly missed, you know. Loads of good people who are not going to be working here anymore. Really sad, because there's really, all through the years, lots of nice people who have worked here. Then they've moved on and they've furthered their career elsewhere. So it's a really sad moment for Nottingham. It's a sad moment for the people who are not going to be working here anymore. It's a sad moment for me because I've had a fantastic time working with all the different people, and I was able to come on here and talk about football.
Right, I'm going to give you a custard pie for one last time, tell you shut up. That's it. After more than a decade, the original and only TV show for Nottinghamshire football is over. We go with big thanks to Johnny and to Charlie, who've played such a massive part in starting it all and keeping it going. We've had brilliant support from pundits like Kelvin and high-profile ones who've been great to us, Roy Keane, Sean Dyche, Gary Birtles, Wes Morgan, to name just a few. So many fans have sat on these chairs too, giving a terrace eye view. Me, I feel lucky to have been one of the handful of presenters in this chair. It's been a lot of fun, and of course this show couldn't happen without the hard work and enthusiasm of the technical and editorial staff of both Confetti and Notts TV. The closure of Notts TV later in the year means some of these will be losing their jobs. We thank you and we wish you all the best. And finally, thanks to you for watching and getting involved. I love the banter when we're out and about or at a match. You've been a fun and respectful audience. Watch out, we might be back somewhere else. And in the meantime, have a good summer. So to the most famous football commentary line, they think it's all over. It is now. Goodbye.